everyone. This is Des. Welcome to my podcast, According to Des, where I interview people with passions, hobbies, or side hustles trying to live their best lives by following their dreams and pursuing their goals. Get ready to be inspired. On today's episode, I interviewed Rachel Collins. Rachel has been vegan for 3 years now, and I was interested in talking to her because I just feel like in general, going vegan is becoming very popular and more mainstream. There's tons of vegan restaurants popping up. Any restaurant you go to now, there's tons of vegetarian and vegan options. So I feel like this is something that's becoming more popular, and I thought it would be great to have Rachel on to get some tips, her advice, hear what she went through, how she became vegan. I was very interested in that. Also, because I've been vegetarian for years, as most of you know from my other episodes, and I've been cutting out dairy recently. So I was really interested in talking to her. I can't wait to pick her brain. So here we go. Let's chat with Rachel. Hello, everyone. I'm here with Rachel Collins. And Rachel, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Desiree. I'm so excited that you asked me to do this podcast.
I'm really excited because I wanted to talk to you for a while now because you are vegan and that's something I'm very interested in. So I've been vegetarian for many years now, but I've been starting to kind of like ease into that vegan lifestyle, which I found to be a little difficult. So I've been just kind of substituting things, non-dairy substitutes. So I just wanted to talk to you about your vegan lifestyle and the process. So how long have you been fully vegan for?
Sure. Yeah, it'll actually be about 3 years in mid-June of this year, 2020. And I'm actually so excited that I'm about to come up on that milestone. It feels like it's been forever, but also that it hasn't been that long at the same time.
That's so great. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah.
And just from talking to different people that are vegan that I know, it's so funny because it really is like an anniversary because people can pretty much point out the moment they decided to go vegan or the time frame that they decided to start substituting. So was this more of a process over time for you, or did you go just cold turkey, no pun intended?
I would say that, yeah, that's a great pun. Um, it definitely was something that I attempted to do cold turkey. However, just because it's easy to make mistakes, I made a lot of mistakes, whether that was because I didn't ask the right questions when I was out at a restaurant, or I forgot to read the label when I was shopping at the grocery store. I absolutely made mistakes, and it's very common, I think, for people who are transitioning to a vegan lifestyle to do that, and it's a learning process. So yes, I attempted cold turkey, but there were blips along the way. There was also one point in time where I just totally caved. I thought, you know what? I just want to go back. I just want to have chicken just one more time. And I did it, and I immediately regretted it because it just wasn't worth it to me. And I felt so guilty that I almost let myself down in that way. And so ever since that one time, I just said, never again will I intentionally choose to consume an animal product. It may happen that I will unintentionally, even after asking the right questions, I might be given the wrong information. I may unintentionally consume an animal product. I may buy a product that contains something derived from an animal, but never again will I intentionally make that choice.
Wow, that's really powerful, that guilty feeling.
It is, and it was kind of, I think, a necessary step in my journey to be able to feel that and to truly understand that this is a conviction that I have and that I want to stick with. And I don't look at this as a diet. I don't look at this as a phase. This is my lifestyle. This is how I choose to live. And I choose not to intentionally contribute to the suffering of animals.
It's so hard because being vegetarian for years, and I've had the same experience even just being vegetarian. I remember one instance I ordered Caesar salad wrap and it came with bacon in it, and I was like, what the heck? like are you kidding? Just I feel like even when I buy something, just everything has an animal product in it. It's shocking. I even recently bought a curry paste and I was like, oh, this like has a weird aftertaste. What is that? And then Mark read the label, my boyfriend, and he's like, oh, this has fish oil in it. And I was like, are you kidding? I just feel like it's so hard. Like you really have to be so diligent, and it really takes a lot of determination, that just conviction to that lifestyle like you're talking about, because it's in everything and it's pretty shocking. I think people just have no idea.
You're absolutely right. And I continue to have to remind myself when I'm out shopping or when I'm at a restaurant, even though it's been almost 3 years and I feel like I know what to avoid and what to look for, I still sometimes forget to ask the question. And I take for granted, oh, well, this is normally vegan at most places. It's just getting into that habit of asking the right questions and surrounding yourself with the people who will not make you feel bad for taking the extra time to ask the waiter or waitress for questions. If you had an allergy, you would do the same thing for yourself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I find that it sounds bad, but sometimes it's just easier. I just feel like a lot of wait staff, in my experience, don't really take it seriously. For example, I'm allergic to bananas, and it's not a severe allergy, it's just a very mild allergy, but my throat gets scratchy and everything. And if I say, oh, can I have that without bananas? Like, it will come with bananas in it still, and I'll have to pick them out. I just feel like people just take it more seriously. Anything when you say I'm allergic. I know of friends that won't eat meat or whatever, and they'll actually say, oh, I'm allergic to that, because it makes wait staff take it more seriously. I don't know if you've experienced this, but I'll go to a restaurant and I'll say, oh, does this have so-and-so in it? Or is this vegan? Is this vegetarian? And the wait staff will say, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's tough. It's a lot of obstacles. So you're absolutely right with what you said too, of going out with people who don't mind and who are considerate and patient, because sometimes it does take that extra few minutes. Even they'll have to go back and ask the chef and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And it sometimes will take that extra time, but we shouldn't be afraid to stand up for what we believe is right. The wait staff, it's true, they often, maybe it's that they don't care, but it could also just be that they don't truly understand what does vegan mean. So I find that being very specific in my questions has helped a lot. So I will ask, hey, does the bun on the veggie burger contain any egg or dairy? And does the veggie burger contain any egg or dairy? A lot of times veggie burgers might seem innocent, but they'll have egg in them as a binder. So that's a question that I always need to remember to ask as well. And if they don't know, if they don't offer to go back and ask and find out, I will just politely ask, would you mind checking? And then I'll place my order. Usually it's not a problem. I've never been met with anyone who looked impatient or frustrated by the fact that I was asking the question. I'm sure it does happen, but if it does, then I might take my business elsewhere.
That's so true. What was your motivation 3 years ago that made you decide that you were going to go vegan? And were you vegetarian first, or how did that kind of work?
So I had always leaned vegetarian. I just never enjoyed the feeling of touching meat, especially when I'm cooking, and I love cooking, but buying meat and then having to trim it and touch it, it's just always something that I just thought was icky. So at home, I was often eating vegetarian meals anyway, but when I went out, I would enjoy non-vegetarian meals. About 3 years ago, this is kind of a funny story, and I hope the person who inspired it isn't listening because I would be so embarrassed. But people come and go in your lives, and you might have some ex-friends. I have an ex-friend who I decided to look up on Facebook one day. We're not actually connected or friends on Facebook, but I know how to find this person.
Yep, I do that too, a little creeping. Yep.
Yeah, just to see, what's going on with this person in their life. On her cover photo, there was a photo of a certificate in nutritional studies from Cornell University online, and it was something about plant-based nutrition and Cornell University. And I just thought to myself, what the F is this? Like, I just thought it was such BS. So I immediately went to the Cornell University website and looked up this program and found out that it is indeed a very legitimate program in nutritional studies. And it was all founded based on a book and a professor who works at Cornell, or used to work at Cornell, by the name of Dr. Colin Campbell. And he wrote the book that inspired me to change. So basically, after going down this rabbit hole of figuring out what's this certificate, what is this course, and then what is this book, which is called the China Study, I ended up ordering the book on Amazon. And it was right after I had returned from our honeymoon, my husband, and I decided to read it because I was just so curious. I really needed to know, is this something that's actually legitimate or not? And in the book, it's a very scientifically written book. It's peer reviewed. He embarks on basically a 9-year challenge or study to figure out why children in Asia are so malnourished. And he first has the hypothesis that, it's because in Asia, a lot of the population doesn't have access to or doesn't consume dairy. So let's feed the children dairy and see if they are able to gain weight. And he does this, and then he looks at them over time, and what he finds is that they are actually developing diseases and health issues that their prior generations never experienced. So what he's able to do is trace it back to the specific protein that's only found from animal products, and it's called casein. And he finds that casein actually is processed differently by our bodies than any other protein that's found in plants. So then he goes on his next journey to figure out, okay, what are the actual effects of populations who consume animal protein or casein versus those who don't? And the findings I thought were astonishing. Everything from cancer to diabetes, high cholesterol, heart disease, all these kind of typical issues of the American society and diet were things that he found could be, if not reduced, but also eliminated by simply not consuming animal products. And even though at the time and still today, I didn't and don't suffer from any of those ailments, I really wanted to take the step to protect my health and my future and my life and say, you know what, if I have this information, if I know this now to be true, then why would I continue to consume animal products? I just don't see the need for it. And today there are so many substitutes on the market that I actually don't feel like I'm missing out. Although yes, at times it is challenging, it's something that I decided to do for myself and for my health. Throughout the past 3 years, it's also enabled me to become more compassionate, more considerate, both toward the animals as well as the environment, because there are benefits not only for our health, but for the animals and environment as well.
Absolutely. Wow. That's funny that this person that you aren't friends with anymore kind of just changed the course of your life.
If she only knew.
That is so funny. So you kind of did this from a health perspective, and that's really compelling evidence and study. And that's so interesting. Wow. Yeah. I think everybody kind of has that reason or defining moment that they decided to make the switch. For me, I watched a documentary called Earthlings. And it was years and years ago, and it just devastated me. I mean, I cried the whole thing, like the hour and a half. I cried after for like days, and I still years later think about the scenes in that movie, and that compelled me to change kind of my lifestyle. It is very interesting, and all these things intertwine. It's our health, it's the way we treat animals, and it's the environment. It's all intertwined.
Yeah, absolutely. That Earthlings documentary, I know it's very popular and it's often recommended if people are interested in transitioning to a vegetarian or a vegan lifestyle. I attempted to watch it as well as several other documentaries, but I have such a bleeding heart that I often can't get through these things. I have lots of documentaries and books that I could point people toward, but I can't say that I've read all of them myself because it's just too difficult to get through.
It is, yeah. And I always tell people too, because I have a few friends that are vegan and vegetarian, and I tell them they've heard of Earthlings. If you're already vegetarian or vegan, just don't watch it because it's just going to destroy you.
Yeah.
So it's really bad. It's really bad. You got married 3 years ago, and that's kind of when, you got back from your honeymoon, you said, and you started transitioning. So how does this affect your husband and your relationship? I mean, did you guys have a talk about it?
He likes to joke about it a lot, especially when we're out with friends or when we meet new people, because when we got married, I was not vegan, although, like I said, I was already leaning vegetarian. So he'll often say, yeah, she got me on the hook, and then she tells me the truth, or things to that effect.
Right when you got home from getting
Yep.
married.
Basically, like I took off the mask. But he has been so supportive, so open. We have no animal products in our home, in our kitchen, I should say,
Wow.
other than his coffee creamer, which I understand completely, although there are many substitutes available nowadays.
There are, yes.
Yeah, we cook exclusively vegan at home, and when we go out, I do not ever make him feel badly if he wants to order something that is not vegan or even not vegetarian. I mean, it's everyone's choice. I never want to shame anyone for making those choices. But I do encourage people to be open and listen and learn, try new things. He's been awesome, and it hasn't affected our marriage or our relationship in any negative way. I think it's almost strengthened it because we love trying new recipes and cooking together. So pretty much 4 to 5 nights a week, we are in the kitchen, we are cooking, and it's fun. We enjoy it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really great to have a supportive partner like that. I'm in a similar boat. When we first started dating, he did most of the cooking, but now I kind of do more of the cooking just based on schedules, and I work less hours or whatever. So he would do most of the cooking, and he would cook all vegetarian for me, which is really nice. And it's the same kind of, if we go out once in a while, he'll order something that has meat in it. I'm not thrilled about, but I'm like, okay, like 99% of the time he does eat vegetarian. But it was funny actually recently, my sister's kind of easing into a vegetarian lifestyle. She still eats chicken, but she cut out like everything else. She went out to dinner with her fiance recently, and he ordered steak or something, and she took a video and posted on Instagram. She's like, you're eating a dead animal, right? so, so kind of
Oh,
funny.
wow. I wonder how effective that was.
Probably not too effective. He still eats meat all the time, but she's kind of easing into that lifestyle. And I think for people, for me, and I think for my sister too, I know how to cook now. I just follow recipes and things. But years ago, I didn't know how to cook at all. And my sister doesn't really cook that much. So I think I would be kind of lost without Pinterest, honestly. That's where I get all my vegetarian and vegan recipes from. I don't know, just to like think about what I can make. I don't know. That was just something that was really hard for me. So Pinterest did actually make that easier for me. So that's good that you said that you love to cook. So I'm sure that's a little easier for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And same. Pinterest is my go-to for anything. And it's so easy to just, even if, let's say, you've got something on hand, you know you need to use it. I had cauliflower sitting in my fridge that I forgot about that I purchased a few days ago. And so I went to Pinterest last night. I was like, okay, what can I make with cauliflower? You just type in something like vegan cauliflower recipes and you'll get tons of ideas. And even if you don't have all the ingredients that are on hand for a given recipe, it's usually okay to omit things here or there or to substitute things, certain spices you may not like, that's okay, leave them out. It's a godsend, it's a lifesaver. I'm on Pinterest almost every single day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, same. I'm always looking up recipes on there. So you said your husband is very supportive. How about your friends and family? What was their reaction? Like if you go to your family's for dinner or your in-laws for dinner, how does that go? Or your friend's house?
I wonder, it might be almost the same for you. I hope it is anyway, but my sister has been vegetarian for much longer than I've been vegan, pretty much since I can
Oh,
remember.
oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and when I was younger, I didn't quite understand it, and I remember taunting her about it, and I feel so guilty for that now because now I know better.
Oh,
But I think because of that, my family was already kind of accustomed to maybe being a little bit pickier or having to adjust the menu for family gatherings. So I can't say that I've had too much of a conflict with my family around food just because of that experience. And they've also been pretty open to trying new things. My mom is somewhat afraid of using spice because she equates spicy to being hot, but
oh,
it
yeah.
doesn't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
So slowly but surely, I will share recipes with her as I find things that I think she might be open to trying, or when she comes to visit, I always cook for her and see what she likes and what she doesn't. But on the family side, I'm very fortunate, and I know there are a lot of people who probably don't have that same experience, and I feel for them because it can be tough if you don't have that support system. With my friends, I also haven't had any adverse reactions, although I do get a lot of the typical questions like, well, how do you know you're getting enough protein?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
that's always the one, always.
yep. Is that all? Aren't you still hungry? I need meat to feel full. Well, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I can get full off of a salad. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if it's like a loaded salad. I fill my salads with every vegetable, so they're really filling.
absolutely. It's a lot about nutrient density too. So certain foods are more nutrient dense and will fill you up more and faster than others. You just do a little Pinterest research on nutrient dense foods and you can easily get full on a salad.
Yep. Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, well, that's good for the most part that your friends and family are supportive. That's really amazing because I just feel like when you hang out with friends and family, so many of those instances surround food. So that is really hard for those people that their family and friends aren't supportive or just don't know about it.
Yeah. How about for you? What's been your experience?
Yeah, kind of the same actually. One of my sisters was vegetarian before me. And then I went vegetarian. So my family was just kind of used to making things for me and her. And I have a really big family, a lot of aunts and uncles and cousins, and we have family gatherings. And my aunts are so sweet. They'll always make like a vegetarian side for me and my sister. And so they've been really, really great about it. And friends have been totally fine with it too. So my family was just kind of used to cooking for two people vegetarian. But then my sister actually went back to eating meat, but I stayed vegetarian. And now my other sister's kind of going vegetarian. So there's always like, one or two of us. So they're really great about it. And my family, they're all really good cooks and everything. Their food's amazing. So maybe they know how to cook and everything. So it's kind of easier for them too. Like my aunt's so nice. She'll be like, oh, I made this side for you. Or she'll make a lasagna with meat and one without for me. Really, really sweet. It's really thoughtful. And I really appreciate that. And it's been easier going out with friends because not really a lot of my friends are vegetarian, actually. Most of them aren't. But I just feel like now it's never been easier to be vegetarian or vegan because there's just so many vegan options on menus. There's so many vegetarian options. There's even just vegan restaurants, which is great. Before this whole shutdown thing, me and Mark actually went to a vegetarian/vegan restaurant. And I just feel like there's so many popping up. And it's really rare, I feel like, to go to a restaurant now and for there not to be a vegetarian or vegan option.
Totally. I'm seeing the same thing. It's definitely getting easier to go out. And even if it's not a dedicated vegetarian or vegan restaurant, like you said, there's usually something on the menu. And even if you don't see it explicitly labeled as vegetarian or vegan, most of the time you can ask, hey, can you just leave off the bacon, leave off the cheese? Can you substitute this? And yeah, I've had some pretty good experiences with that. So yeah, it's never been easier. Eating out, I would say my biggest tip is to always research ahead of time. So
Yes.
if you know you're going to be going out with friends and they've picked a restaurant already, take a look at the menu in advance and kind of think through like, okay, what can I make work? And if you find that it really doesn't seem like there's going to be much unless you want a boring salad with lettuce, tomato, and no dressing, then
Mm-hmm.
then why not suggest to your friends, after all, they are your friends, hey, do you guys mind? Can we maybe go to this other restaurant? Because I just don't see a whole lot on the menu there for me. And hopefully they'll be totally accommodating. I can't say I've ever had an experience where people weren't. So do your research ahead of time, ask the right questions, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely. My friends have been really great too. They'll actually ask me, hey, we're thinking of going here. Can you eat here? It's really nice. I think when people realize your lifestyle, they are much more accommodating. And one of my friends, she's gluten free. And I always tell her, I'm like, man, it's easier being vegetarian and vegan than gluten free. There's
Mm-hmm.
really not a lot of gluten free restaurants when me and her go out. When we go out together, we always have to examine the menu.
I find that I have a lot of luck for situations like that with more traditionally, I guess, Asian cuisines or even Middle Eastern. So Israeli, Lebanese type of
Mm-hmm.
food, or Asian, you can always get things like a stir fry, which is rice and vegetables, and not have to worry about meat or gluten. So those types of things
Mm-hmm.
tend to work well if you've got various diets to accommodate in a group.
Yeah, definitely. And you actually bring up a point I wanted to ask you because, as you know, I'm a traveler and you're a traveler too. So I see you on your trips, traveling the world and everything. How is it for you being vegan? Because I have another friend that's vegan that travels the world, and she says it's very difficult. And in my experience, it's been difficult depending on where I am. How is your experience being vegan traveling?
I would say in the States, it's, as we said, it's getting easier and easier. Abroad, I think a lot of countries are also starting to catch on, although I will say I haven't done as much international travel since I've been vegan, just due to other things happening in my life. There's a great resource that I use. It's called Happy Cow. It's a website and an app, so you can either download the app to your phone or you can just go to the website. And it's a place where vegans can tag restaurants, sort of like TripAdvisor, that either offer vegetarian or vegan options or are completely vegan and vegetarian. And that has been a lifesaver.
Oh,
The
that's
other,
great.
yeah, I love Happy Cow. And the other thing, too, I think is just, again, with experience and knowing the right questions to ask, knowing foods to just avoid is also something that it's just going to come with time. It'll serve you well when you're traveling.
Yeah, definitely. The experience definitely helps. I didn't know about that app or that website. That's really helpful to know. I love to tell the story because I think it's just the funniest thing because I think it really does just depend on where you are in the country. Because Mark and I did a road trip in Nebraska last summer because we are trying to see all 50 states. So we drove to Nebraska and we went to Omaha, which is their biggest city, and there was actually a vegan restaurant. So we went there and the food was amazing. And then we started driving back towards Colorado. Nebraska there's so many cows. Like everywhere you look, there's so many cows because it's all dairy and beef farms. We were just driving through all these cows and went to somebody's Airbnb or whatever. And there was like one restaurant in the town, like just one. It's like one of the smallest towns in America. And there was one restaurant. So we go in and every single thing on the menu had meat in it, even all the salads. It was like chicken salad, steak salad, whatever. So I looked at the waiter and I was like, can I get a salad just with no meat? And he looks at me and he goes, what do you mean with just lettuce? And I was like, well, no, like everything besides the meat. And he's like, what do you mean? Like he didn't know what I was talking about. I was like, I still want the carrots. I still want the tomatoes. Like I was like, okay. So they did not know what I meant, but so that was kind of funny. Yeah, I guess it just depends on where you are. I think it's probably easier now because it's just been changing so fast. But I went to China 6 years ago. And even when I ordered breakfast in the morning, I ordered just eggs. It came with like little bits of pork in it. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it just everything I ordered had meat in it. It didn't matter what it was. Anything I ordered.
That is tricky, especially when you're in a country where, I mean, if you don't speak the language, I think European countries are a little bit easier to navigate with that because a lot of people speak English and a lot of the menu items tend to look the same. But if you're dealing with an alphabet that just uses different characters and you can't really tell, that's really tricky. But there's another really cool resource out there. The name escapes me right now, but it's an online resource where you can go and print off before a trip little cards in whatever given language of the country you're visiting. And the cards say basically in the translation to that language, I am vegan. I do not consume dairy, eggs, fish, meat, etc. Please, can you help me find something on the menu? And you just carry the little card with you and you show it to your server. And hopefully, I haven't tried this myself, but I thought it was such a neat idea. And hopefully that would help a traveler who might be a little bit wary of what to order.
That's really great. We actually did that 2 years ago. We went to Thailand and Laos, and most people in Thailand spoke English, but we bought little translation books. And in both books for Thailand and Laos, we circled the page that said the dietary restriction. So at the restaurants, I needed it in Laos way more than Thailand, but I would point and say no meat, no fish. So I would always point to that and they would say, okay, they got it. So that's really cool. It is really helpful.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the guidebooks are a good tip too. I'll have to find that site.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know and I'll definitely link it in the show notes because that's a great resource. And people don't realize too that when you're vegan or vegetarian for years, you can't just eat meat because you'll actually get sick. It actually affects you negatively.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think it's different for every person. I know for me, if I've had it, whether by accident or maybe on my one slip up that we already talked about, it's a mixture of a physical response. Some people have gone so far as become nauseous. I didn't feel that way, but I definitely felt sort of that discomfort in my stomach. But it was also a mental response too. And it's a mixture of guilt. It's that feeling of letting yourself down and being disappointed in yourself. And to me, I think that was the bigger and more weighty response that I had to it. It's just more meaningful too. But yes, it can definitely affect you.
I met somebody a few years ago that her mother was actually vegan. And so in utero, she had no exposure to any meat or anything. And her whole life, she was vegan. And if she eats meat now, even before she was born, she was vegan, she gets very, very sick.
I believe it. Yeah, it's tough. And I think that's where the whole question too comes in about, do we tell our servers that we're allergic? That's a tricky question because in a way, yes, we're having this response that's undesirable, but are we truly allergic? That's tricky. Personally, I choose not to say it just because I never want someone who truly is allergic to not be taken seriously. I would never want to ruin it for those people. I do just try to be very specific in my questions.
Yeah, no, and I think that's helpful for wait staff too that just maybe don't know about what is vegan or what is vegetarian or what isn't. I know your diet is vegan. Is your whole lifestyle vegan?
Definitely. And that's been more of a slow transition than the diet was because I just had a lot of stuff. And a lot of people ask when they transition, do I throw away my leather jacket and my belts and my wallet? Is that more wasteful. And to me, I think, you know what, the deed has been done. It is to me more wasteful to just throw it away. Some people might suggest donating it, which I think is fine. I mean, to each their own. Some might say that when you donate, you're also propagating and condoning the use of, let's say, a leather product.
Mm-hmm.
But if that makes you feel better, then by all means, at least it's not going into a landfill. So for me, it's been a process of using the things that I already had on hand that have a useful life. I also used to be an avid couponer. So I have hordes of shampoos and body products that are just still in my linen closet and underneath my bathroom sink that to me, I don't want to throw them away because I think that that's wasteful. But when I do have a true need to buy something, I do absolutely make a conscious effort to buy things that are not only vegan but cruelty free. And that can be challenging because not everything carries the vegan label. It actually costs companies money to get that certified vegan label on it. But you may see that cruelty free jumping bunny icon a lot more often, which is helpful.
Yeah.
There's another helpful app that I use called Is It Vegan, where you can just scan a barcode. If it's in the database, it'll tell you. A lot of times it won't be, but that's where Facebook groups really come in handy, or you can go on the manufacturer's website, and if you don't see more information there, usually just sending a quick note in their contact us form will get you some sort of a response. So yes, I do try to buy only vegan and cruelty-free products. So that includes clothing, it includes shoes, beauty and personal care type of things. But it is a struggle because again, I don't even know sometimes. It might look vegan, but is it? So for example, you might see a shoe that doesn't have any leather in it, but there's adhesives that hold the pieces of your shoe together that might contain glue, which comes from horse hooves. Unless you specifically ask the question, or unless you are buying from a certified vegan brand or website, it is tough to know. I do make a conscious effort.
Yeah, that is really tough. And I agree with you with the waste aspect of it. I have everything that I've owned before. I haven't gotten rid of anything. And I'm kind of glad in a way that my boyfriend still eats meat, because sometimes I will order something and meat will come with it or in it or something and I'll pick it out. But I don't want to waste it because I feel like that animal died and I don't want to have it be
Yeah.
for nothing. So my boyfriend will eat it and that almost makes me feel better. I'm like, okay, I didn't consume it, but it didn't just go in the garbage and this animal died for nothing. So that's my feelings on that. But like you said, everybody's different. Everybody has their own viewpoints.
Yeah, it's a balance. And a lot of times these questions come up when people are transitioning. What should I do with this stuff? Or how do I know? And I got some really good advice from someone back in the very beginning when I had just decided to make this change and I decided to join my local vegan meetup group. So I was asking some of these same questions, and she said to me, and it's a quote from Maya Angelou, and she said, "When you know better, you do better." I've just tried to live by that. We might make innocent mistakes, and that is okay. And it's normal to feel guilty afterwards, but you didn't know. But now you do know, so make the conscious effort to do better.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. It's so true. And as you just go further, you just learn more. And like you said, you have that meetup group and you're just looking up things. You become more aware of other people. And I don't know, I just feel like everybody just teaches each other. So it's easier as time
They
goes on.
really do. I think it's so important to connect with people who are not just like-minded, but who are open to things. So if you don't have a local meetup group in your area, join a Facebook group. There are tons of them. And people are asking these kinds of questions all the time. And for the most part, I see nothing but supportive and encouraging responses.
That's great. Do you ever get criticized at all for being vegan?
I would say only in the online space where it's easy for people to hide behind a keyboard. And it has only really come from, I would say, people that I am connected with on Facebook, but I'm not that close to. We're
Mm-hmm.
friends, but we met maybe a long time ago in some other life and don't really talk. And so I might post something and I'll usually get hit with some sort of a snide comment or a challenge as to why this or that isn't correct. To me, it's not worth my energy. I just ignore it.
Yeah, I see comments all the time, really nasty, negative comments. I always see the comments like, I would rather die than eat anything vegan. And I think that just goes understanding what is vegan and what isn't. Because, like, a carrot is vegan. Like, you're not
Yes.
going to eat that. You know, they just don't understand what it is. And they're like, oh, you damn hippies. Or one comment really bothered me. I try not to let the comments bother me, but I just think it's just so ignorant. And that in itself bothers me, is that somebody just chooses to be ignorant when there's just so much information and you can understand, you're just really choosing not to. So one of my Facebook friends posted, I have somebody coming over, they're vegan. Does anybody have good recipes I can cook for this person? And somebody commented, sounds like you need new friends. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, well, that's so rude. Like, why? Why?
that is so rude. And that's the exact type of person that we would choose not to surround ourselves with.
Yep, absolutely. And it's just such a misunderstanding, I feel. So for you, what is the most difficult part about being vegan?
I would say it's, again, remembering to ask the right questions. Probably struggling when I am faced with these challenges or maybe online trolls, that I personally am not great at remembering facts and statistics. Like, I can't quote you off the top of my head how many gallons of water I save or how many animals I've saved, etc. But there are lots of great resources available. So I have a whole Pinterest board that I made just to help me remember some of these things.
Oh, that's great. Because I'm really bad at that too. I could not get any number from the top of my head. So I feel like that's a struggle for me too.
Yeah, it is. And it's also constantly changing as there's more research coming out. I pay attention to the news a lot. I'll bookmark news articles that I read just to have those at the ready if I need them. But at the same time, again, at a certain point, I just choose not to engage because it's not worth my energy. And there are people who, despite the fact that you may give them all the scientific evidence in the world, they are not going to change. And that is their right and that is their choice. And we also have our right and our choice to not consume animal products, and it just has to be that way. And if we choose to have any sort of social relationship despite that, then I think that's great. If we can learn to work outside of those differences, sometimes we can't, and that's when, unfortunately, you just have to choose the people that you surround yourselves with.
That's really true. I think it's nice when people have differences, but they could still get along, but that people are also open to that kind of idea. And you could tell right away when somebody's open and when they're not. So you know whether it's worth it to put in energy or not. So
Absolutely.
what do you think is a misconception that people have about being vegan?
Besides the protein?
Yeah, yes.
Because that's definitely the biggest one that I think
Mm-hmm.
it's never going to go away. People are always going to ask, well, how do you get at your protein? Aside from saying that you can get plenty of protein from plants, I think I'll say that another misconception is that vegan does not equal healthy. It
Mm-hmm.
can. It absolutely can equal healthy, but there are tons of vegan junk food options, and more
Yes.
are coming onto the market every single day. So you also do have to make those health conscious choices if you're in it for health, as I am. And it's funny, I'm a bit of a paradox in myself in that I went vegan for health reasons, but then I discovered vegan junk food and I was like, cool, Oreos. That's my jam. I love Oreos.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely is a struggle. And it just because you choose not to eat animal products does not mean that you're going to be a stick figure or that you are going to be disease free, because it can still happen, but it's all about making healthy choices.
I know you already gave a lot of great tips. Do you have any tips for anybody who's they're still eating meat, they're kind of thinking about being vegetarian or vegan?
I would say do your research. I know that sounds a little bit scary, but if you like reading, there are plenty of books out there that can help encourage you, whether it be from the scientific standpoint, whether it's health or even weight loss. I know a lot of people go into this for a weight loss reason. If it's movies, there are plenty of documentaries available. There's also movies that may not be a documentary style, but it's like a true feature film. A good one that comes to mind is Okja on Netflix. Yeah, it's a really endearing story about a little girl who befriends this wild beast. I'm not sure it's even a real creature, but it kind of tugs at your heartstrings a little bit because of what happens to this creature and the little girl and their relationship. So things like that, I think, can be really eye-opening, even if it's not coming at you from a scientific standpoint. And then again, join Facebook groups, talk to people in your local meetup groups, go to a new restaurant, or even go to your same favorite restaurant and try something that you've never tried before.
Mm-hmm.
You may be surprised that you actually like it. I don't ever feel like I'm sacrificing flavor or any of my favorite foods anymore because there are so many options available. I honestly don't miss anything. I don't even miss cheese.
That's one thing I always hear is people say, I can never give up cheese. I can never give up cheese. Like, I know that's a hard one for people, but there are so many amazing non-dairy cheese options. They're just so good. And I feel the same as you. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything because really the vegan options are just so good. There's so many good non-dairy substitutes now.
Yep, they're getting better and better, more and more coming to market. I mean, obviously companies are seeing the trend, right? So
Yes.
there's money to be made in this industry, and I'm fine with that. Like, I am all about the Beyond Meats of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Daya, go for it because it only helps the cause.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I think is so cool to see just from even a few years ago to now is that it really is a growing trend. I just feel like more and more restaurants, more and more people are going vegetarian and vegan. It's actually really nice to see. It makes me wonder about where we'll be in 10 years, how many options there's going to be, and how many people are vegan and vegetarian. I feel like with our food industry in general, all the sketchy things and all the animal abuse, something has to change in our society. And with social media, it's everywhere now. I scroll through Facebook or Instagram, and there's always videos about animals being rescued from the slaughterhouse. And I feel like people are really becoming more empathetic. And I think it was easier before where you go to the store, you pick up your meat, you don't think about where it came from. But now you go on Facebook and there's a video of a mama cow screaming and crying for her baby cow that was separated from her for her dairy. And I feel like it's making people more empathetic and really think about their choices more.
It absolutely is. And that scenario that you just described about the mama cow, it really breaks my heart when I think about it because people think that dairy comes from cows
Mm-hmm.
automatically.
Yep.
They don't realize you have to separate the calf from the mother, and
Yep.
usually that calf becomes veal.
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel if your baby was taken? I would be heartbroken too.
Yeah, people just have no idea what goes into making all these different foods. They have no idea what the baby cow goes through to get their veal. It's just horrific. And I think that we're getting more educated and it's in your face a lot more now. And it has to make people think about their choices.
Yeah, absolutely. You're totally right. I mean, now that we have social media at our fingertips and usually in front of our faces every day, it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot easier to sort of close that gap or that disconnect that we had about, oh, well, it comes from the store and then we bring it home and eat it. And now we actually think about what happens and where it comes
Mm-hmm.
from.
So I know you mentioned the one book and the one movie. I know that there's endless documentaries and movies and books now, but do you have any off the top of your head that you would recommend to people that you really liked yourself?
Yeah, so other than the China study, which, like I said, it's very scientifically written and it's a long, kind of tedious read, but I was so intrigued by it. I just couldn't stop. I was learning so much. But if that's not your thing, How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger is a really good one. Dr. Greger also runs the website nutritionfacts.org. It's a free resource. He's always posting new videos. He reviews new studies that come out about basically plant-based diets and how they affect our health from a, I'll say, unbiased perspective, but it's clear that he is in support of this diet. The science is clear. So in terms of books, I definitely would recommend How Not to Die by Dr. Greger. For documentaries, I would say, other than the ones we've already talked about, What the Health is a really good one, especially if you're just starting out, you just want to learn more. There is a lot of information in that about, I guess, maybe the conspiracy theories behind why the American Heart Association continues to promote meat in our
Mm-hmm.
diets and things like that. It's mind-blowing and it'll really open your eyes and hopefully make people want to continue to learn more. Game Changers is another one that recently came out that I also thought was completely astonishing. When they looked at athletes, there's a part in there where they separate the blood in a centrifuge of an athlete who had consumed meat that day and one who hadn't, just for that day. And what you saw was when the blood was separated in the centrifuge, the one who had consumed meat had a much more viscous and more opaque blood sample that separated versus the one who only consumed a plant-based diet that day, which was a lot clearer and transparent. And it was like, wow, in just a day, you can see that kind of a difference in your blood. I mean, and all that is going through your bloodstream. It's going to clog up your arteries. So I thought that was really eye-opening. And it also helps debunk some of the myths about vegans, how you can't get your protein, you can't build muscle, but then it's all about these athletes who don't consume animal products and they're enormous and breaking records.
Wow, that's so interesting too, because I've been seeing so many more stories about athletes going vegan. So it's kind of like a trend within athletes, and that people are seeing the benefits of being vegan, because I keep hearing more and more stories about, well, this athlete is vegan and this athlete's vegan now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it can help inspire us too. You know, we look up to these people, we look up to athletes and celebrities, and if it's working for them, it can work for us. Why not give it a try?
Yeah, definitely. Wow. And do you have any specific, your favorite vegan recipe that you like to cook at home?
Yes, and it's pretty easy. It's so easy that I don't even follow a recipe anymore. I've got it down to a science.
Oh, wow.
I make pretty much once a week either a Thai red curry or a Thai green curry. And I use a curry paste that, as of right now, I can only find on Amazon. The brand is called Maesri. Maesri. We can put it in the show notes too. It comes in red and green, and I think yellow, but I love the red and the green. And it's so easy. All you have to do is dump the can of paste in a little bit of vegetable oil to bring out the flavors. Add a can of coconut milk. Add your chopped vegetables. Let it simmer until the vegetables are cooked, and then serve it on top of rice. It takes
Wow.
15, 20 minutes. I don't have to measure anything out at all. And it always turns out so good. So if you like Thai, if you like spicy food, that's an easy one.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I want to try that. That sounds really good. I love anything with coconut milk. I love coconut milk.
Oh, yeah, it's a staple in my house. I
Yeah,
always
me too.
have several cans on hand, and the minute we're down to one, I'm like, I gotta get more coconut milk.
Yeah, same. I'm the same way. Oh, well, Rachel, this has been so amazing. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you, and hope to talk to you again soon.
You. Wow, Rachel is such a wealth of knowledge. I love that she took the time to educate herself. She watched all these documentaries, she read all of these books. I love that she wanted to learn more about being vegan and diet and the nutrients and everything like that. So she really took the time to put a lot of research into that. And I think that's very, very important. Rachel gave me a ton of resources, which I'm going to put in the show notes. So definitely check that out. I'm going to put the websites and apps she talked about, such as Happy Cow, Is It Vegan, the website facts.org, the books that she talked about, the documentaries. Awesome. So if you're interested in going vegetarian or vegan, definitely check out my show notes. I'm putting in all the notes that Rachel talked about. I mean, she's so educated. She knows a lot about this topic, and she gave great recommendations that I think if anybody is looking to go vegan or vegetarian, these are great tips to check out. And I love that she included those apps because, as we talked about in this episode, even when you are vegetarian and vegan, it's so hard sometimes when you go to the store and read the labels or go shopping. It's so difficult to determine if something is vegan or not, because things like she mentioned, shoes that you wouldn't even think have an animal product in it do. Really cool. I'm going to check out those apps myself. Awesome. Well, Rachel, thank you so much. That was such a great interview, and I learned so much from you. Really, really great. I loved it. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please join me on my Facebook group. Join the Facebook community. It's facebook.com/groups/according to Des, and follow me on Instagram and TikTok at According to Des. And I'll see you over there.